All right, everyone, welcome to the podcast. And today we are going to talk about the three universal rules of losing weight that you cannot dismiss. Okay, so I don't care if you are following some what they call blue zone diets or low carb, or you're counting calories, whatever it might be, there are certain rules of weight loss that are just biological rules. Okay. Now, I know we don't like to hear about there's certain rules to lose weight. You got to do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. And I'm not talking necessarily about that. What I'm talking about is we are all freaking human beings. Okay. And because of that, we are all governed by certain laws of physics, for example. And when it comes to losing weight, for the most part, there are some just universal things that you just can't get around because we are humans. And I'm going to talk about three of the big ones today because I think it's very important for all of us to at least have some kind of understanding of what's going on. Because without any kind of understanding about what's going on, how in the heck are you supposed to come up with a plan to solve it, right? Now, you can get somebody like myself, a health coach, or somebody to help you lose weight, who knows more about these things. And then you don't need to know all the specifics and everything. That's fine. But at least have, I don't know, maybe if you're like me, but when I'm doing something, I at least like to have some kind of general idea what's going on, right? So we're going to talk about those three just universal laws of losing weight that you can't get around. But the thing is do you really have to focus intently on these things? I'm going to also talk about that after I kind of mention what those rules are, and then give you just kind of like, well, what is John's, take on all of this for losing weight? Like, okay, that's all great, but John, just tell me, really, do I really need to be focusing on these things? Just give me kind of the lowdown of what to do and stuff, right? So I'm going to talk about that. Also talk a little bit about what rules are kind of out there that people think are rules, but really when it comes to losing weight, that they're not rules at all. They're just things that are helpful or something, or diets you can go on. But is it really a diet rule that you need to follow? Because there's a lot of stuff going on out there that we think we have to do, but the fact is you don't have to do that. Okay, so the first biological rule that is out there would be really, it is like probably the number one, all right, in my book anyways, and that is that weight loss by and large is about a calorie balance. So if you have a calorie surplus, are you going to gain weight or lose weight? You're going to gain weight, right? Surplus means you're eating more calories than what your body is actually needing to burn. Then there's maintaining. So you're eating a certain amount of calories. That's just basically maintaining where your weight is at right now. And then you have calorie deficit. So if you're trying to lose weight, you want to be in a calorie deficit. So in other words, if your body is burning, let's just say 2,000 calories right now, maintaining where you are right now, then if you consume, let's say 1,700 calories on a regular basis, you're going to start to lose weight. Okay. So, your body is always trying to normalize this principle, okay? There's a surplus you can have, there's the maintaining, and there's the deficit. And if you go into a calorie deficit to lose weight, and I'm not saying that you have to count calories in order to lose weight. Let me first of all just tell you right now that if your goal for losing weight is count every single calorie that you are putting in your mouth, and you're looking for a coach that can help you to count all of those calories and come up with a calorie plan, I'm probably not your guy. All right. I'm more of somebody who is, let's understand some basic principles, and then let's come up with a strategy that just in a kind of normal aspect or normal real world of what you're already doing, how can we make some small incremental changes that over time, add up to a lot? Okay. But it does come down to a certain calorie balance that's going on. And like I said, your body is always trying to normalize this. So if you're trying to be in a calorie deficit and you are in fact, let's say, maintaining that calorie deficit, well, what your body's going to do, if you were eating 2,000 calories a day and you were maintaining, and now, you decided you want to lose weight, so you're eating something like, let's just say 1,700 calories a day on average. That's what you're eating. Do you think for a moment that your body is going to say, I'm just going to keep burning 2,000 calories a day while this joker just only consumes 1,700 calories a day? Like, do you think your body's going to let you do that forever? Probably not. Now, I wish it would. And there are always the exceptions to the rule. Okay. Everything I talk about here, everything in life, there's always but there's this one person that did it this way, right? And there's always those exceptions. And we're not talking about the very few small percent. We're talking more about like the 95%, 99% of people that are out there who are not athletes, or they're not like movie stars on some diet or something. We're just talking about the normal person like me. All right. I'm a dad, or maybe you're a mom, or maybe you're a grandparent or something. And you just kind of, live a normal life. You got kids, grandkids, you take them to school, you go to work, and trying to just lose a little bit of weight. Well, when you're in a calorie deficit, what the body's going to do is try to normalize it. And this happens a lot of times. People call it a weight loss stall. So that stall is like when, hey, I haven't changed anything. I was losing weight just fine. And all of a sudden, bam, I'm no longer losing weight. And I haven't even changed anything. Like, what's going on? Well, your body saw that you were only consuming 1,700 calories a day. So it lowered your maintenance stage from 2,000 calories to 1,700 calories per day. And now you have to actually eat a little bit less in calories, not necessarily less food, but less food that are calorie dense. Like, you have to eat less calories in order to regain another deficit. Okay. The good news is you totally do not have to just focus on this thing intently and let it just derail everything that you're doing, because you can be in calorie deficits and you can deal with this kind of thing that happens without really stressing a ton about it. But anyways, it's there, that happens. So if you are trying to calculate calories and stuff, it's always best to kind of calculate over the course of a week versus per day. Okay. Just make that a little side note for you there. And also part of that, as far as calorie balance goes and everything, a lot of people go to the low carb diet to lose weight. And that's fantastic. If you like doing low carb, if you can skip the bread, if you can skip the pasta, and that is you, then low carb is a great way to go, I think. But realize that really what's going on with low carb diets is that they're lower, the foods you're consuming, typically you're going to be lower in calories. So it's still based off of calories. Like if you go into the Carb Manager app, okay, so it's an app to track your carbohydrates. So if you're doing a keto diet or something, well, the calculation it does to figure out about how many carbs you should be eating per day to lose weight, it first calculates your calorie balance, and then it spits out the carbs from that, okay? So low carb, usually you're focusing on foods like meats and vegetables are the primary things, meats and vegetables. There's cheese out there too, I suppose, dairy products, that you can be consuming and stuff. But those things like lean meats, like a New York steak, for example, it's going to be lower in calories than a lot of processed foods like bread, pasta, and such. And same with vegetables. Vegetables are low in calories. They're low carb. Some vegetables have more carbs, some have less carbs. But those vegetables that are lower in carbohydrates, guess what? They're actually lower in calories as well. And a lot of people who are on low carb diets, by the way, they get a little tripped up because they're like, hey, I'm doing low carb. I'm looking at my carbohydrates and I'm only eating like 20 grams of carbs a day and I'm not losing weight. Now, that might be because they're missing something. They're consuming a little bit too much, okay? A little too much cheese. Did you know that cheese is pretty calorie dense, especially something like Parmesan cheese? So something can be low in low in carbs, but if you're still consuming too much of it, and especially if it's something that's a little higher on the calorie side of things, then you're going to throw that balance off, right? So it's not just about the low carb thing there. Some people they eat too much, and there's other people who don't eat enough. And that sounds a little counterintuitive. And this goes to the balance. Again, we're still under your calorie surplus, maintenance, or deficit area. Because there's a lot of people who are like, well, I'm just going to hardly eat anything and try and lose weight. And now I tend to help people who are kind of on the other end of things where they're eating too much food. Like they're having a hard time putting the cookie down. They're having a hard time with the overeating. But I do and have helped people also who are on the other end of things where they're just not eating enough calories. So what happens here is that, when you're in a calorie surplus, you're eating too much, you're gaining weight. But if you're not eating enough calories, you have to remember something, okay? You have a heart. You have a brain, you have eyes, you have a body, you have hair growth, right? You have all of these bodily functions that happen. And guess what each one of those bodily functions require? Energy. And energy, we look at energy in the form of calories. So it takes calories to burn your, burn your heart, to beat your heart, to breathe, to walk, to stand, to just be alive. And if you are only eating, let's just say, 800 calories in a day, and I pick 800 because when I was talking with my mom, going over what she's doing, and my mom needed to lose weight, but she showed me, John, I'm hardly eating anything. I'm like, well, write down what you eat and let's look at how many calories you eat per day. And it was like 800 calories a day. And I'm like, Mom, you're not going to lose weight. You think you're going to lose weight, but you're starving yourself. So your body is saying, hey, every single ounce of calorie that I get from that little string cheese, because my mom was even trying to eat low carb, every calorie goes into reserve mode and is just being used for bodily functions. And in that case, your body doesn't care about losing weight. Actually, it's going to look at holding on to fat as protective. Does that make sense? If you are stranded out in the wild with no food, at some point your body is going to be like, okay, yeah, I do need to cannibalize myself, like, pull the fat out or get muscle and break that down for energy. But it's really going to try hard to hold on to your body fat as much as possible because it sees it as protective. It's needed because there's not enough food going around for everything to happen. So this is part of the calorie balance thing that's going on for some people. Okay, so the next one, the next biological rule, as I'm calling them, as far as losing weight goes, is that weight loss is also about hormones. All right. Now, for you women out there, you're probably, yep, for sure. If you're like premenopausal or you've gone through menopause or whatever, you're like, yeah, you know what? I was doing all the same things, and guess what? All of a sudden, things aren't working the way that they were working. Or perhaps you have insulin resistance. So insulin is basically, it has a lot of functions in the body. It's a hormone, but one of the primary functions that insulin has in regards to weight control is that when you consume a lot of sugar, let's say, when your blood glucose goes up, your body secretes insulin. And that insulin takes the glucose that's in your bloodstream that you're not using, because that sugar, that glucose is sugar basically. That sugar needs to go somewhere. It can't just sit in your bloodstream. This is the problem with people who have like type 2 diabetes or something. There's too much excess sugar going on. So your body takes this insulin, makes insulin, and it pushes that extra sugar into your cells, and it stores it away as fat. Now, if you are consuming too much sugar, an overload of sugar, what can happen for some people is that you develop something called insulin resistance. This is where, let's say one of your cells, it's like a battery, okay? It can store energy. And if your battery gets filled to 100%, then your battery, which I'm making is your cell, okay, a fat cell, it's at 100% capacity. Problem is, all your batteries are at 100% capacity. However, you just ate a bunch of ice cream and had some cookies and you had a pizza. But all of your fat cells are at 100%. So a couple things happen. One, you start growing new fat cells because, hey, we need more batteries, right? We need more batteries to store this extra energy, this sugar that's in the bloodstream. It has to go somewhere. So one, it's going to grow new fat cells. But two, it's going to try and jam pack that glucose that you have in your bloodstream into your already full battery, okay, your fat cell. It's going to try and shove more into it. So you're at 110% capacity, 120% capacity. But what happens is that battery that you have is going to say, I'm going to stop listening to insulin because insulin's trying to bring me too much energy. I don't have enough storage. And you know what? All the walls are cracking because my battery is getting too full of energy. And the battery's starting to break down. It's starting to have problems. It's starting to leak battery acid because insulin is storing more energy into it. So I'm just going to stop listening to insulin. Now, just imagine for a moment, if you have all this sugar, all this glucose going around in your bloodstream, and none of your fat cells listen to insulin saying, hey, I need to store away this extra sugar somewhere. I need to store it away as fat. And all your fat cells say, sorry, I'm closed for business. That's when you start having a lot of problems. That's called diabetes. And it can cause a lot of problems for you. Okay, I don't think I need to go into all the problems of diabetes. And there's type 1 diabetes and there's type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is more genetic. Type 2 is really about food, over consuming sugar and everything. So if you're in insulin resistance, meaning your cells are resistant to accepting more insulin and more sugar coming in, and it's not listening to insulin anymore, that means you're in fat storage mode. Because how is your body supposed to pull sugar out, or let me be more correct, how is your body supposed to pull fat out of your cells to lose weight and use that fat for energy if you've got a ton of insulin floating around? Because insulin, as soon as it sees the sugar, is going to try and push the sugar back into the cells, right? So weight loss is very much about a calorie balance, but it's also a hormonal thing. And that's just one instance talking about insulin there. There's other things like cortisol, stress, and everything like that. There's thyroid, right? There's different thyroid hormones that can make it hard to lose weight. And so it's a little bit of both. Okay. And then the third one here, when you lose weight, like, if you're in a calorie deficit, by default, now this is number 3 for the biological rules of losing weight, you really can't get around, okay? Number 3 is that by default, when you go to lose weight, when you get yourself into a calorie deficit and you want to lose weight, most people are going to lose both body fat and muscle. And we don't want to lose muscle, right? We want to lose body fat. There is technically a difference between weight loss and fat loss. Weight loss is really just, hey, you know what? The scale said 200 pounds. Today, it says 195 pounds. That's weight loss, right? It doesn't care, the scale doesn't care what was lost. Was it food that you've digested and now is gone? Is it water? Did you not have a bunch of water? Is it fat? Is it muscle? It doesn't care. All that the scale cares about is the fact that what you put on it and gravity works out to this much weight. Now, there's fat loss. Fat loss is you actually are taking fat out of your cells and burning it for energy in some way. You're losing body fat. That's what we want. We don't want to lose muscle, right? We want to lose body fat. And when you get yourself into that calorie deficit, then it is very easy to lose both. And I know this very well and firsthand because that was my problem when I first got to, I don't want to say when I first lost weight because I've lost weight throughout my life, but then regained it. But it's when I actually lost the weight and learned how to keep it off. The main thing in the beginning, I lost the weight, but I lost too much weight. And what I lost was a lot of muscle. I lost fat and muscle at the same time. And I didn't fully understand back then how important something like protein is to keep your muscle or to keep my muscle strong, to keep it maintaining where it was. Because here's something that you might not know. That is that muscle and fat, okay, both of them, the more you have, the higher your metabolic rate is. So what I mean by that is the more calories you burn just sitting here doing nothing. It takes calories to maintain things. So if you have more body fat, it takes more calorie burn to maintain the body fat. And the same thing with muscle, all right? If you are someone who has like a lot of muscles, you go to the gym and you got big muscles and everything, then your metabolic rate is just going to be a little bit higher than somebody else's because it takes calories to maintain that muscle. So if you lose body fat and you lose muscle, guess what? Yes, you might be losing weight, but in a way, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot because your metabolic rate is going down as well. You're not going to be burning as many calories as you were before doing the same things. Does this make sense? So what we want to do then is the ideal situation. You want to lose body fat and maintain or grow muscle. And the way you kind of maintain or grow muscle, there's a few ways, but just off the top of my head, two of the biggest tips would be you got to eat more protein. You have to eat a sufficient amount of protein and do some resistance training to build some muscle or maintain your muscle. Okay. Let me put it that way. Those are the 3 really big biological rules that, look, we don't want to have to think about calories. We don't want to have to think about hormones. And we don't want to have to think about lifting weights and going to the gym and eating a bunch of protein, right? We just want to lose some weight, for crying out loud. But we can just relax for a moment here, because you don't have to have a degree in all of this stuff in order to be able to use it, okay? You don't need to know how and why the sun is burning and is hot and shines the light that it does on the earth, just to know how to use it to get a tan, or how to use it to grow a crop. You don't need to know all those details. You just need to know, well, what do I need to do in order to grow the crop, right? And that is the good thing. But it is a general good idea to have some basic understandings of kind of what's going on and stuff. Okay, so that's the question. Do I have to focus and dwell on all of these things all the time? And in most cases, I would say, no, you don't have to be fully into every single detail. You just got to be aware, so you have a basic understanding, so that you can kind of adjust and have a little bit of insight. Like if you do stall out losing weight, then instead of throwing your hands up and saying, I can't do it. See, it doesn't work for me. I've tried losing weight. I've done all the things and I lose a little bit of weight and it all stops working and it just doesn't work for me. Well, I think it's good to have a little bit of understanding of why that might happen, because then it might not demotivate you so much. You might then just start asking a question, okay, my body's kind of normalized a little bit. What other little tweak might I do? Right? Who else do I need to ask a question to in order to learn what maybe I can do? In other cases, though, you might have to focus on these things. Okay, now there are some people that focusing a little more on these things is going to be a good thing. And that's someone who has insulin resistance, for example. Okay, if you have insulin resistance, if you have type 2 diabetes and your insulin is always high, or your blood sugar is always high, let me put it that way. Your blood sugar is always high. You're probably insulin resistant if you have like type 2 diabetes. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving health advice or anything like that. Okay. Just take this all as opinion. But in that case, dialing in what you're eating, right? The kinds of foods you're eating, like high sugar foods and stuff, that might be a little bit more important for you to focus in on. We're all a little bit different. My wife has Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So because she has a thyroid condition, certain foods will help her to put that into remission, so it's not in the way. But when she has that, when you have a thyroid problem, it's a little harder to lose weight. So there are some people that they need to pay a little bit more attention to foods. In general, though, if you are in a calorie deficit, you're likely to lose weight. I don't want to say that's 100% for everyone, because again, hormones can play into it. Your stress level can play into it. But that is the general idea, okay? So some of these rules or the laws become more important to focus on also when you get closer to your goal weight, especially if that goal weight is something like you want to weigh what you used to weigh when you're in high school, right? Some like crazy weight goal that you might have. And maybe you even know in your head, like, wow, you know what? I really want to weigh a certain, 120 pounds, but that's going to take a lot. Like I'm a long way from 120 pounds. And in some of those situations, it's always that last 10 pounds that it's like life doesn't want to give you. You know what I mean? Like you just get so close and then it just becomes like really hard to get those final 10. And it all depends then. It depends on the person, of course. Some people are going to lose weight really quick and nice and easy in a steady, straight down path. But if you're like most people, then you're probably going to lose weight more on a kind of, it goes down a little and then you kind of plateau a little and then maybe you go down a little and then maybe it goes up a little and then you plateau and then it goes down, but the general path is to go down over time. And when you get to that last, so many pounds, okay, it might seem really hard to get those last few. And you have to ask yourself at that point, am I okay with where I'm at right now? I've lost a lot of weight. Am I good with the way I am right now? Because I like eating the foods that I'm eating. I like how much of the foods that I'm eating. But to get to that last little bit, you might have to be a little bit more strict. So you have to ask yourself that question of what is the most important thing to you right now. All right. Okay. So let me switch gears a little bit on the opposite way and just tell you a couple things of what weight loss really is not. It's the myths that are out there, so to speak. They're the things that are not the laws of weight loss or the biological rules of weight loss. And, I hesitated to use the word rules because when it comes to losing weight, and if you hear you have a bunch of rules that you need to follow, a lot of times for a lot of people, that's kind of a turnoff. But I think that we can all agree that you're human, I'm human, and everyone else here is human that's listening to this podcast, I think. I don't know, I might be from Mars. But we all work in a certain way. The human body works in a certain way. And you can try to get around it in little clever things that we do, protein shakes or something. But ultimately, it's good to know the basics, like what is going on in there. Okay, so things that are not rules, okay? Weight gain and loss is not necessarily about carbohydrates. Now, if you're doing keto, you might be thinking, no, it is about carbs, right? I need to eat low carbs so I lose weight. Well, no, it's not actually about the carbs. It's more about the insulin in that case. You eat less carbs, you eat less sugar so that you keep insulin down, because insulin is going to allow, if insulin is down, then you can pull fat out of your fat cells and burn it for energy. If insulin is high, you're in fat storage mode and you can't pull the fat out for energy. So it's more about insulin, not necessarily carbs. Now, carbs tend to be a little higher in calories, like I said before, especially like processed foods, processed carbs. And those can make it a little bit more challenging to lose weight if you're eating a lot of carbs, but not impossible. All right? Not impossible. There's people who eat McDonald's and guess what? They have a normal weight. They're not overweight, they're not obese, and they eat McDonald's. Now, I'm not saying that they're those people, they're probably not over consuming a bunch of McDonald's like me when I was younger. 2 McDLTs. If you remember what McDLTs were, I'd eat 2 McDLTs, the large French fries, the large Coke, and either a 6 or 20 piece chicken McNuggets back then. I ate all of that in one sitting. And sometimes maybe an apple pie. Remember those warm apple pies? They were so good. But I used to eat a lot of freaking food, and that is more of the problem there. All right. So it's not necessarily about carbs. Weight loss is not about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are part of an overall plan and strategy. They factor in, but it's not about carbs. All right. Another false rule would be that you have to eat clean food. You can only eat whole foods. That is not true. I'm sure you know people somewhere who aren't really that much overweight, if overweight at all, and they eat a hamburger. They eat bread, right? I mean, if you don't know anybody, then you can use me as an example. Today, I had avocado toast in the morning. I had 2 slices of bread with avocado on it, and some eggs and what did I put on there? Some chicken. And then for lunch today, I had a tuna sandwich. Again, 2 slices of bread. Now, the bread that I eat is Ezekiel bread. It's a little healthier for you, but as far as carbs go, it has the same amount of carbs as regular bread. And 2, like I went to the gym, I'm active, I'm using those carbohydrates, but I eat, I would say, more on the whole foods side of things, but not all. I try to eat minimally processed foods, but that's more because it's of a health thing that I'm trying to do. I want to improve other things other than just my weight. And that's when dialing in your food quality can start mattering. But if you're just trying to lose weight right now, yes, in a perfect world, if you would eat only whole foods and nothing else, no processed stuff, then you'd probably be able to lose weight a little easier physically. Mentally, that can be really hard, can't it? So it's not something that you have to do. It's not a rule that you have to eat only whole foods in order to lose weight. All right. And another one, and this is a really big one, I really, really hope that you listen to this one here. And that is, you do not have to go on a diet to lose weight. Okay. I'm going to repeat that again. You do not have to go on a diet to lose weight. I have a saying. Diets are for athletes and performers. So if you are, let me pick somebody, Ben Affleck in the Batman movie, all right? I heard that he bulked up for that. He went on a specific diet to cut his weight, like cut the body fat out, and to build a ton of muscle. You need a diet to do that in a quick little hurry, right? Athletes need to be on a specific diet to give them the kind of energy that they need, the performance that they need. But you don't have to be on that diet forever. A diet implies a short-term thing, and then you kind of go back to what you were doing. You can go on a diet, and then when you lose the weight you want, you can try and figure out what you're supposed to do to keep that weight off. Or you could just say, hey, what do I need to do to start losing weight? And you don't go on a diet. You just come up with a plan for the foods you already like to eat and not overconsume them. And instead, you eat a proper amount of food based on the amount of activity that you have. All right? So it is not a rule that you have to go on a diet. If you're looking at South Beach diet, if you're looking at the keto diet, if you're looking at the Atkins diet, I don't name it. There's a million diets out there, paleo, you name it, right? Great. They will work on a spreadsheet. They will probably make you lose weight. In real life, lose weight and keep it off can be very, very hard to do. This is why 90% plus people who go on diets end up regaining the weight back, because they didn't do the work to change themselves, to change who they are, to change their relationship with food, what they do when they're angry, stressed, irritated, tired, when they had a bad day at work, when they come home from work, and let's say you're tired, but you know what? You still need to eat something. Are you just going to stop at McDonald's and pick up the quarter pounder French fries and a shake? Are you going to stop at Jack in the Box and grab the little tacos and go park in the parking lot and eat a bunch of food because maybe you have an emotional thing going on in your life right now, and food is a means to kind of an escape? And maybe, some of you are even ashamed of doing some of that. And the keto diet's not helping you with that. The paleo diet doesn't help you with that. Neither does the South Beach diet. In that case, what you need is to understand how I can change. Why am I doing this? Why am I eating like this? And how can I get myself to stop doing that? A lot of times that comes down to self-love, you know? Okay, well, that one's a little deep, and we can go into that in more detail in another one. But just understand that if that is the kind of things that you're struggling with, a diet's not going to fix that for you, you know? So let me kind of bring this all together here. Here's the truth, okay? There is no best weight loss plan that's out there for everyone. There is no best. All right. If we were all robots, maybe I could put together the best plan for weight loss, but we're not robots, are we? We're all human. We live in a different environment. I live here in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's a different environment than the person who lives in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm pretty low on stress. I'm a pretty chill kind of guy. Other people, high stress. I try to eat mainly whole foods. Other people, they prefer to not only eat whole foods. Some people some people smoke cigarettes. Other people don't smoke cigarettes. We're all a little bit different. Okay, so there's no one best diet that's out there for everyone. There are people out there, what you have to find is you have to find the person who resonates with you the best. Like who's the one who, you feel that way that person's talking, the way that person coaches, that's the kind of thing that I need help with. That's the kind of thing that I feel like I can do. Okay. Because there's always people who are smarter than somebody else. There's weight loss people out there, I can guarantee you, who are smarter than John Hoff, all right? Who's coached more people than John Hoff. But when it comes to those things, I would say it's more important, first of all, can this person help me? Okay. So as like one of my mentors put it this way, okay? Because I like to grow and evolve myself. So I have mentors and coaches and stuff. I invest in myself, just like you should be doing. If you're trying to lose weight, you should be investing in yourself. And, he says, a fourth grader can teach a third grader how to do math, the third grade math. If a fourth grader knows how to do the math, right? That's all the third grader needs. It just needs the person who is above them, who knows how to do it, to teach them. They don't need the college grad to teach them how to do the third grade math. They just need someone who can teach it to them in a way that they understand, right? So the college grad, maybe they got a degree in mathematics. They might be more like mathematically qualified, but maybe their way of teaching is like talking down to the person, to the child, and arguing. Why aren't you getting this? It's so simple. Just do this and this and this and this, right? Or you get the fourth grader who's just kind of like, oh, well, here's how you do it. And, you follow like this, and it just makes sense. So that's when you're looking for a coach, looking for someone to follow. All I'm saying is that it doesn't have to always be like, I'm only going to learn from a dietitian, or I'm only going to learn from someone who has 1 million followers on Instagram or something. You need to find the person that ideally they've lost weight themselves. I would say it doesn't have to be, because, we can learn about things and still coach people through things. We're all human, but does that person, the way that they talk, the things that they're saying, are those the things that I struggle with? And are the solutions that they're giving, are those in line with what I feel like I can do? All right. So there's a woman, for example, let me give you a perfect example here. Her name is JJ Virgin, and maybe you've heard of her. She has the Virgin diet. She's been helping people lose weight for a long time and everything. And she was on one of the podcasts that I listened to a lot, this guy named Max Lugavere. And he asked her a question. He was asking her some questions about losing weight and stuff. And one of the questions he asked was, I can't say exactly how it was because I listened to this a month ago, but it was along the lines of, he said, sometimes I see like a cookie or something and I can't help myself. I have to eat it. How do I not eat it? Like, it's an emotional thing. How do I deal with that? And her reply was, I can't speak to that, which I actually thought was really cool, that she's not making something up, but she just said, look, I'm the kind of person that if I want to lose weight and that cookie is in my way, I'm going to put the cookie down. I'm not going to eat the cookie. Done. What do I need to do? Well, for JJ Virgin, I know that she teaches, she has women or tells women to do like HIIT exercises, high interval intensity workouts. And so a lot of like little exercises, doing more on the low carb kind of eating, doing upping the protein. There's certain things that she does, but one of the things that she doesn't teach is the emotional side of things, the mental side of things as far as that goes. Now, I don't know all of it because I haven't been through her program. I'm just going off of the interview that she had there. But that's a perfect example of someone who has a lot of experience in teaching people how to lose weight. But there's some areas that if it's something that you're struggling with, if it's the emotional eating, if it's the not being able to stop eating these kinds of foods, it's like, okay, great. I can learn how to exercise and stuff, but I can't stop eating these foods. And she's like, well, I can't really speak to that too much. So, that I guess I'm just saying that you really need to find that person. All right. You forgot to find that person. So that's the lowdown truth. And you need to find help. We all need to find help. If you're like me, I can't figure everything out on my own. Losing weight, making money, doing a podcast just to get the podcast going. I had people help me figure it out and everything. Now, maybe I could figure out over the long run, but it takes a lot longer, doesn't it? Isn't it a lot faster when you have somebody help you and show you what to do than just trying to figure it all out on your own? Imagine trying to learn calculus all on your own. Or you could find somebody who knows how to do calculus and teach it to you. Which is better? Which is more efficient, should I say? Okay. So yeah, my approach, if you're wondering, and if you're new to my podcast, if you're new to me, well then welcome. First of all, my name is John Hoff and I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm a health coach and I help people lose weight. That said, I help people lose weight by, not going on a diet. I used to teach low carb. I've lost weight myself. I used to help people lose weight through low carb diets, but I learned that there was more to it than just eating less carbs to lose weight, because people would lose weight and then it would ultimately, when I check back in, a lot of them would gain the weight back. I'm like, why are they gaining the weight back? Well, I had to take a good look at myself and how did I improve? Not in just my weight stuff, but everything I do in life. What is the key thing? What is the thing that is present in all things that I do and that I've noticed in other people as well, that allow them to accomplish and stay accomplished? And that usually has to do, dare I say, always has to do, personal change in some way. Personal change, a different way of thinking, a different approach in something, a different perspective. And so when it comes to losing weight, I prefer to not put people on diets. I prefer to meet them where they are right now and say, okay, how can we make some small incremental changes? Ones where we push a little bit, but not too much. We don't need, if you like eating ice cream, you can still eat ice cream. All right. You don't ever have to give up ice cream if you don't want to give up ice cream. You don't have to give up anything if you don't want to give up anything. But how can we learn to eat these things with a little bit more intention instead of just a free-for-all? And when we do that, when we start paying more attention to things, things can start to get a little bit better. Okay. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. I really liked doing this one, and I like doing all of them. But I appreciate you being here. And if you find this podcast to be helpful in any way, please leave a good review. Leave an honest review, honestly. Leave an honest review, what you thought about it. And if you would like to learn more about working with me and losing weight, then you can go to losingitwithjohn.com/waitlist. That link will be in the show notes. losingitwithjohn.com/waitlist. And get yourself on my wait list. And next time I open doors to bring in more students to do, go through my program and help them to lose weight and everything, I will make sure you're the first one notified, okay? Because I don't always accept, thousands and thousands of students all at once. I prefer to keep it somewhat small, at least for now. Down the road, maybe I'll have some more coaches to work with me and everything. But right now's a really good time because I like to keep the group small, which means more attention from me, right? And if what I say is resonating with you, then please go to that link. If you're on Instagram, that link is going to be in my bio. You can click on it, join my wait list. I'll make sure that you're the first one notified when doors open, and I can help you lose some weight. All right. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time.